A talk with new 2nd Barnstable State Rep Brian Mannell and more bridge work to come. We'll fill you in on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Thursday, January 24th, 2013. I'm Sarah Colvin. 2nd Barnstable State Rep Brian Mannell of Centerville is jumping into his new role with both feet. Mannell joined us on this morning's edition of Barnstable This Morning and talked about his first few weeks at the State House.
Several weeks ago, actually back in December, the Speaker had myself and the other new freshman reps out to UMass Amherst, and so we went out, met with a lot of the leadership, went over some of the things that we'll see, and basically it was a bonding experience for the freshman class. But quite frankly, it is a lot of learning on the job, and thankfully I'm blessed because I'm surrounded by a delegation here on Cape Cod that has been very inclusive and willing to bring me along.
Mannell says there are literally hundreds of issues to discuss. He cites things like economic development, education, and the environment as key issues to pay attention to. Mannell's also working to rename the Exit 6 highway overpass in honor of a fallen Barnstable soldier.
There's a lot to read through. There's about almost 5,000 bills that get filed. So some of those I'll co-sponsor, particularly those in the area of economic development. I think there are some things that we can do for taxpayers. But education seems to be a focus for a lot of people. Of course, in the wake of the Newtown school shooting, gun safety has also been an issue. And so there have been a variety of bills that have been filed on mental health and on gun safety. One of the bills that I filed related to registering body armor. There is no state in the country where body armor is registered or tracked. And sadly, over the course of the past few years, we've seen this trend of mass shootings in which the assailants arm themselves not only with assault rifles, but also don body armor for the purpose of trying to defend themselves and prolong their shooting rampages. That's disturbing to me, and if there's just any way that we can put another flag out there so that our law enforcement officials can know who's stockpiling weapons and who's stockpiling ammunition, and then who's going forward and buying body armor. Of course, there would be exemptions for people who are active service members or in the military, police officers, those sort of things. But I think when you actually look at the statistics, the folks that buy this, well, there's not a lot of people, but like I said, it's quite disturbing that people would do this and sort of turn it on its head, something that's for defense. They're using it in offensive capability. So that's been a priority. You mentioned a moment ago the Kevin Houston
of course.
Bridge. I knew Kevin. He was a teammate of mine, he was a classmate, and he was just a genuinely special person. I think that it is appropriate to name this overpass. And I went before the town council last week to discuss that. In my opinion, I think that we should honor all vets, and so one of the things we've added onto the name is the Kevin Houston Veterans Memorial Bridge. But if you look at his accomplishments in the service, being enlisted and going pretty much all the way through, special operations to one of the most elite SEAL teams, that is something that I think,
The conversation about wastewater, Mannell says, will certainly be key in the coming year.
Recently, the Cape Cod Commission was granted several $1 million to begin in earnest the planning on that. And so I'm going to wait and see what they come up with. I think that we need to address this issue within the next few years. And it's going to require federal funds as well as state funds and of course local funds too. And no one really likes to hear that, but one of the things that I've learned over the course of the past year as I've started going door to door, is that people are genuinely concerned about this, because I think they realize that if we don't do something now, then down the road we're not going to have the same Cape Cod. And it's important. I think there's a lot of people on Cape Cod who are very sensitive to the environment, and they enjoy the natural beauty here, and this is something that we have to address. So it's going to be a regional solution to some degree, but I think that the towns at this point are going to be left to determine how that pans out. And sewering the entire Cape is really not an option, but sort of working with a hybrid of options, everything from an actual sewer to the Title V septic systems.
Mannell says he will soon establish local office hours throughout his district. He plans to hold hours in Katuitt, Hyannis, and Yarmouth in an attempt to reach as many constituents as possible. Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority Administrator Tom Kerr was instrumental in creating the Canal Area Regional Traffic Task Force, a group that formed following some pretty serious traffic snarls due to Sagamore Bridge work in September of 2009. Since the group's inception, Kerr says traffic issues have slightly subsided during bridge work. Yesterday, the task force was updated on upcoming projects. Kerr says the DOT is looking at about 10 projects on the Cape and Islands.
And there's about 10 projects, going across the Cape and including the islands, because traffic in Harwich and Chatham and Brewster and down the lower and outer Cape, they're affected and concerned as well about bridge construction that might cause delays. So NASDAQ talks about those projects. Then the Army Corps talked about projects that they have planned, and the most significant, I guess, is 2014. When in the spring of 2014 they're going to be starting to paint the Sagamore Bridge. It may not be as problematic as one might think, because a lot of it's going to be done under the bridge and up on the top, and it won't be lengthy lane closures, but at least we got a pretty good idea that they're planning that work for 2014. So that's the kind of thing that goes on at these Canal Region Task Force meetings. And yesterday, we also invited Jacobs Engineering, which is a company that the state hired to work with us. And I have to give a lot of credit to Secretary Rich Davey, Secretary of Transportation, Massachusetts, and Administrator DiPaolo from the old Mass Highway, who's now at MassDOT. They've come down to my office on a couple of occasions, and Senator Wolf has been incredibly helpful with his leadership, but they've committed to working with us, and what they've asked Jacob Engineering to do is to advance the technology that would allow for travel time estimates for cars going on and off the Cape. So there'll be 8 signs on the Cape and 15 in all, that will tell you exactly, well, I shouldn't say exactly, but very close to an estimated time that it will take you to get from, X to Y. It'll take you 11 minutes to get to Yarmouth from Sagamore or whatever. And so that they gave a presentation yesterday, and that's going out to bid, and there's going to be an MPO meeting that will program the funding this week. So that's advancing quite quickly. And Secretary Davey said they're going to be doing this all across the Commonwealth, but they will start on Cape Cod, and I know that's a result of our task force. So I think that we've been able to make some progress and headway in terms of making people aware of, the problems that exist when the bridges have to be worked on. They're 85 years old, and there's only 4 lanes on each bridge, 10 feet wide, so there is no real panacea. There has to be, awareness, and I think that's what we're trying to do, so that people aren't totally inconvenienced and the economic impacts aren't too adverse.
Kerr says Jacobs Engineering's plan for real-time traffic monitoring will tie into smartphone technology.
They have these Bluetooth readers that they install on the signs along the roadway, and you can, right on your regular phone, find out exactly, the technology is a little bit over my head even, but they tell you exactly what the travel time estimates with great accuracy, and there's privacy concerns that have been addressed, so that if you have a phone, you can find out exactly how long it'll take you to get from various places, from approaching the Cape to on the Cape, and they're really expediting the effort, but we're not certain that it'll be done in time for early this summer. Maybe it'll be the fall and then subsequent years, but it's really pretty neat, and I think it'll go a long way in informing motorists the conditions.
Fortunately, no major bridge work will be done until a painting project begins in the spring of 2014. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.